think it's working. Just checking in with my producer. Any comments? Anybody in? Who's watching? The internet seems to be working. This is fun. No eyes on it yet. Oh, yes. Okay. Hey, Nathan Havco, Nick, Charlie, Vanessa, Ignacio, The Buttons. Hey, is that a band, The Buttons? Should I know about this? Paul's in. Hey, Paul. Rachel, Firebrand Vocals. Wow. Hey, how you doing? Hi, everybody. So once again, it's a Justin Hawkins Rides Again Q&A from the road. Today I'm in Kansas City. I think there's probably 1 or 2 tickets available. We're at the Truman tonight, so don't forget the links in the description to buy tickets or whatever you want to do. In about an hour we've got the VIP experience starting, so I'm just going to do a quick one. Jay's in the house. Hey Jay, we met. You right? Robin's here. Good. So who's got some questions for little old moi? Sup, says David Paul. That counts as a question. Not much is the answer. Just been for a light jog. Been doing a lot of running when it was a sort of what they call a recovery run today. The Kings of Ukulele say, "Nobody Can See Me Cry" is my favourite on the New Darkness album, Motor Heart. It has everything and more, I think. Apart from a key change. Hasn't got a key change, so just to say. Lucas says, have you seen Adam Neely about the Dua Lipa ripoff? I think you are wrong. I can't even remember what I said about it. I might have said, I don't even know what I said. But no, I haven't watched it. But, that's the whole thing about opinions. Sometimes they differ, don't they? Mine's just that one. Favourite song to play live? I did. Yeah, you know what? Sorry, just to go to a different question here. L. Duderino says, Kansas, Carry On Wayward Son. I actually heard that this morning. Played on the radio whilst in Kansas. It was brilliant. The best breed of dog? Well, that's an easy one, Jack. Any of the hybrids. Wolf, the original and still the best. Wolf, I think. Serious question. For the level of talent in your band, do you ever feel like you guys do not get the credit you deserve? Thanks for reviving How to Play a Les Paul. I don't know. We get plenty of credit, I think. Me and my brother were voted the best guitar players in the world a couple of years ago. That's good enough for us. I don't know. There's loads of talent in the world. Everywhere you look, there's talent. Our guitar tech is one of the best guitarists I've ever seen, and he's a guitar tech. Talent doesn't mean anything. It's all about. It's actually all about hard work. It's more about hard work. Kansas City, Kansas. Forget about it. I don't know which one I'm in. David Dawn says, did you ever meet Taylor Hawkins? Yeah, many times actually. One time he actually introduced us on stage when we played at Wembley. He was a brilliant person, sadly missed. Rest in peace. Ooh, favourite Sparks song or album? Is it Propaganda, the one where they're on a speedboat tied up at the back? That's a great record. Awesome artwork too. Jay says, are you guys coming to do a world tour, not promoting any specific album, with a longer set list in the coming year? I don't think in the coming year. I would say, feels to me like I would suggest that touring in the current climate is still a little bit early. I think there's still some trepidation. I reckon in a year's time, I think things will almost go back to normal. Nick Pantazi says, I saw The Darkness when your single I Believe in a Thing Called Love was just out at a club in Boston. Which one was it? The Paradise? Still one of the most fantastic, entertaining shows I've ever seen. Thanks, Nick. You should come and see us. It's still like that, only perhaps more. Stephen says, hi, Justin. Hope you're well. I am well. Thank you, Stephen. I hope you're well too. Cheese pipe, says Wicked. I know what you're referring to. That's the pipe that the mouse doesn't quite fit in, and without the oil, it makes double squeak because he's squeaking in anguish because there's cheese at the other end of the pipe, and also you can't fit in there. So like the skin when there's friction between the skin and the pipe, that makes a squeaking sound as well. Harlan says, are you good at darts? I have my moments at darts. I'm a little bit inconsistent because I don't practice enough, but I do really enjoy it. Mark says, congratulations on 100,000 subscribers. Cheers, Mark. It's a huge achievement. I'm really delighted. Kelsey says, would love to know your opinion on Morrissey. Hard to separate the art from the artist for me. There's a kind of best of album that Morrissey released. It's called Boner Drag, or Bonner. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that actually, but it's got like some great moments from like his first few solo records, and a lot of it's produced by Stephen Street, and it sounds amazing. Stuff like Suede Head you can't argue with. Every Day is Like Sunday you can't argue with. Hairdresser on Fire you can't argue with. Last of the Famous International Playboys, great song. I remember when that was on Top of the Pops. I remember seeing it and thinking that I hated it, but actually when I listened to it properly, I loved it. He's written some amazing songs. He really has, both with the Smiths and after the Smiths, I think. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have turned their back on him because he's a complete moron, or he's got some opinions that they don't agree with. But I don't care about that. It's just I still enjoy listening to some of his stuff. Do you collect guitars? Actually, Dr. Kyle, I do. Recently, I've acquired two more. One Fender Stratocaster in a what's it called? It's in, I think it's called Graffiti Yellow or something. Super relict. And yesterday I played a gig with a new to me, but older than all of my other guitars, Les Paul Custom. White, obviously, the power colour. Amber says, Justin, we are out having dinner. How can you do this unplanned, man? Well, this was an experiment. My producer suggested we go unannounced, and, you know, it's only a bit of fun, isn't it? Doesn't matter, does it? Sea green. Yeah, good point, actually. A seafoam green Les Paul would be incredible, wouldn't it? Caught you guys in Detroit. Great show, says Thresher. Thank you, Thresher. Appreciate that. How was your time playing in Mexico? Are you coming back? Yeah, we've played in Mexico a few times, and we mostly do Mexico City. I think the first time we did it was probably with Lady Gaga, and then we did it at a club show there about 3 years later. And then last time we played at the festival. I forgot what it's called. It's something to do with hell, probably, and it was awesome. Kelsey, you shouldn't feel guilty about listening to anything. I really hate that expression, all guilty pleasures. You know, even if something's not cool and you're not supposed to enjoy it. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it, and that's all there is to it. Don't let anybody else tell you what you should or shouldn't listen to. Even me, you know, if you like something, just listen to it and enjoy it. It's nobody else's business but your own. The relaxation playlist. Oh, that's a good question, Mark. I like things like singer-songwritery stuff. I mean, it's hard to beat the songs of Ron Sexsmith, but I don't know whether they're necessarily relaxing because they make you think, and sometimes they make you cry on the inside, sometimes on the outside as well. But stuff like Nick Drake, if you're relaxing. So I have actually used Nick Drake to help me fall asleep when I've struggled with insomnia before. So you could try that. Where is gone your Ibanez, says Paul. Well, I raffled that off some years ago. I think a couple of years ago I did a raffle for it. Scott K says, you're cool. Not as cool as you, Scott. Thanks for acknowledging that. Lou says, are you going to watch WrestleMania? Paul, I don't even know what WrestleMania is. What is that? Something to do with wrestling, presumably? Since the days of Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, I've lost interest in wrestling, so it's not for me. Richard Media says, have you heard Sean Lane's music? What are your thoughts? I've never heard Sean Lane's music. But if you think I should, then I'd probably have a listen at some point, and maybe I'll react to it if it's the sort of thing that I should be covering here. Mark Kent says, how do you look after your voice? Well, actually, I try and avoid speaking throughout the day, and I have a long and detailed warm-up regimen, and also a warm-down regimen for after the shows. So I think you need to join my Patreon to find my full... the link's in the description. You'll see it. Sean O'Brien says, will you ever consider coming to South Africa? Well, actually, we've been to South Africa, again with Lady Gaga, but I don't think it works like that. You don't just go, oh, I want to go to South Africa now. You have to find a promoter that's prepared to put the show on. That's how the music trade works. You know, often you see people saying, oh, come to here or come to here. And if it's somewhere like South America or South Africa or a place or a territory that's less frequently visited by bands from the UK at our level, you need to find a promoter that's prepared to take a chance on you and will actually invest and you know put some serious outlay into the planning of such touring a long time in advance. And there's always a possibility that it's not going to happen. So especially in the current climate, unfortunately, I think the likelihood of playing in a sort of less familiar territory is slim, you know. Nick Belcher says, did you ever meet Taylor Hawkins? Yeah, we met him many, many times. Thanks, Nick. I mentioned that earlier. When will you be appearing on Richard Osman's House of Games? I don't know what that is. What is Richard Osman's House of Games? Something I should be aware of? Who plays the saddest blues? Have you ever jammed with Brian May? Yes, we have. Privately, and he played with us once years ago at Hammersmith Odeon, or Apollo, or whatever it's called now. Why is Rock and Roll Deserves to Die not a #1 album worldwide? I think because I'm in my mid-40s and that's not what happens. Roggenwalder says, I'm so glad you started this channel. You're a great person, sincere, and I really enjoy your videos. Thank you, Roggenwalder. I appreciate that very much. Where do you find your opening acts? They always surprise me with their intensity. Yeah, we deliberately choose the most intense opening acts. We want everyone to have a great time, and it's good to have stuff that contrasts with what we're trying to do. But at the same time, we want people who are going to connect with our audience, and our audience is there to take part and have fun. It always has to be people that we like as well. Not just, I don't mean personalities, but I'm talking about the music. We have to like it, because I'm usually snoozing in the dressing room area at the time when they go on. And if you wake up and then you hear some music that you dislike and you hear it again and again for the course of a 9-week tour, it's going to get pretty old pretty quickly. So you do need to be careful about that. And it's not just for our enjoyment, it's for everybody. Peter says, easy, 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 which is the Big Daddy thing. Did you play all that sweet lead guitar on the Hot Leg album? I did. Yep, I played every instrument on it. Do you like to play Fender Telecasters, says Kevin. I've actually, before I had a Les Paul, I was using a Telecaster, because it had one cutaway which sort of resembled the Les Paul that I had dreamed of since I was a child. And then as soon as I was able to buy a Les Paul, that's what I did. And I never really went back to Telecaster. I did see one that I liked, though. I think it was a 68, 67 or 68, and it was like, it used to be pink paisley, but because it was so old and the sun had shone on it for so much, the pink parts had gone red, and then the sort of paisley silver bits had turned like tarnished gold colour. It looked unbelievable, like it had been in a fire or something. But then I found out it was 12,000 Swiss francs and I couldn't afford it. But, maybe one day, if I'm lucky. Hang on a second, my coffee's just arrived. Excuse me. Hello. Can I just get a couple of things? Yeah, of course you can. Sorry, just in the middle of my broadcast. I didn't know if you were filming. Yeah, filming. Hello. Right, come, Andy, come on. This man is Andy Shillito, our tour manager and front of house man. I think I might have introduced you guys to him before.
Yes, we know each other well. We go back a week.
But these are the YouTubers, not the patrons.
Oh, right, okay, well then. Hi, YouTubers.
He's a natural.
There'll be a link to my site coming soon, down below.
Or up. I don't know where it goes. We'll put a link there. Don't worry. Yeah. A few people have mentioned this band to me. It's Big-Eyed Bean Vision says, "Hey, chummy." Familiar. Have you seen the Lemon Twigs? I haven't seen them actually, but you're not the first person to mention them. I think it's time we addressed the elephant in the room, and I reacted to some Lemon Twigs. It's been going on too long now. Nick Drake is absolutely fantastic, says Bungo Baggins. Only 3 albums. What an amazing songwriter he was, and also what an amazing guitarist. And don't forget, the lead guitar playing that's on the Nick Drake albums was done by one of my favourite lead guitarists, Richard Thompson, from Fairport Convention, and Richard Thompson and Richard and Linda Thompson. He also played on the Nick Drake stuff. People forget that. Some incredible talent on those records. 5 Leaves Left is probably my favourite. Could you put Hot Leg Red Light Fever on Spotify? Ben, no, not going to do that. It remains a collector's item. I don't need it to be on Spotify. And honestly, neither do you. You've got it. You know how it goes. Alexander says, Justin, just saw you at the rave in Milwaukee. Younger kid close to the front in leather with my girlfriend. Top to bottom leather? With leather cap. Leather gilet, leather jacket, leather trousers, like the vision foretold by the principal character in Fight Club when he's talking about how the future will be and everybody wears leather clothes. Is it like that? Younger kid close to the front in leather with my girlfriend. Was she also in leather? Excellent performance. However, I was disappointed when I didn't hear knockers. Nevertheless, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Alexander. Keep coming back. You never know what's going to be in the set. Why is Roaring Waters one of the greatest riffs of all time? It's funny because the most recent AC/DC album had a riff that was exactly the same as that. But we got there first by about, 6 or 7 years. And in the same key as well. Have a listen. You'll recognise it. Thanks for spotting it, Justin. Great. Craig Sinclair says, Stevie Ray Vaughan is best guitarist ever. Seems like a statement as opposed to a question. Real Jones says, Justin Hawkins Rides Again is a really refreshing channel. I always make time to enjoy a coffee and some insightful opinions on some genuinely interesting topics. Congrats, Justin. Thanks, Real. It's great to have you here. Keep coming back and all that. Aaron says, do you ever miss the absolute stardom you experienced earlier in your career? Yes, of course I do. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Oh my God, you just phone up a restaurant and go, oh yeah, my name's Justin Hawkins, can I have a table? They go, yes! Nowadays it's like, there are no tables. I say, but what if I were to tell you my name? And then they go, who? The indignity of it. You couldn't possibly understand. Aha. Nice one. Albert gave me some gifts at the Canberra airport in 2012. I can't remember the music. I'll be perfectly honest with you. See, like, I'm just telling the truth today. I'm too tired to lie. Right in the middle of a tour. I'm sorry, Albert, but I didn't listen. Anyway, cheers. It's nice to hear from you again. Anija Bloomberger says, you're hot. Indeed. Well, of course, that's true, Ania. Craig Sinclair says Richard's overrated. Brilliant. That's funny. Favourite brand of pork lotion? That would be Pigman brand. Eric says, would love to hear a recorded version of True Colours. Thought your cover in Masked Singer was brilliant, but the judges kept talking over it. Well, I'm not sure if it's about the spectacle and it's about, I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't even know if I sang it that great. Anyway, you'll probably never hear a recorded version of True Colours, but I'm really pleased that you liked it. Have you ever listened to Sigur Rós? Actually, yes, I have. Just quite recently, I've been delving into their catalogue. Because I did that piece about their really, really awkward interview when they were just sort of not playing ball with the guy in America somewhere. Do you remember that one? It's a few weeks, maybe even months ago now, but I talked about Sigur Rós, and then I was so impressed with the way they conducted themselves in an interview that I decided to check them out. And I enjoyed it too. Steph says, I was listening again to the Led Zeppelin cover you guys did for the BBC. My goodness, what jewels you are, guys. Thank you, Steph. Appreciate that. There was an acoustic version of Immigrant Song, I think. So let's have a look down here. Booby says, do you ever record while on tour? Do you have a recording system to capture your ideas on the road? Sometimes we do, yeah. Sometimes we use, we get the microphones out and we record the drum set in sound check, like we have an extended sound check, and we'll get drum takes. And then we'll use like a Universal Audio Arrow or something like that, a little sound card to record guitars and vocals and bass and stuff, and we'll actually build tracks while we're on the road. We haven't done that on this tour because we just haven't had time. But yeah, we do that sometimes. Leo Bielenberg says, have you ever heard Cardiacs? Literally the strangest and most incredibly unique band ever to come out of the UK, in my opinion. Actually, Leo, thanks for that. But if you look through my videos, one of the first ones I did was an introduction to Cardiacs, talking about the two albums that I love the most, which is On Land and In the Sea and Little Man in a House and The Whole World Window. So I did I don't know, a video explaining why these are brilliant songs and why I love them. But yeah, thanks for the tip. Jason Greninger says, can't wait for tonight. Me too, mate. I'm looking forward to it. Some of us are patrons too, says Joe. Quite right. Quite right. Have you ever collaborated with David Brent? No, actually. But I did get a phone call from Ricky Gervais once, and he just said that he thought that he wondered if I was wearing a catsuit just around the house, kind of thing. It was a long time ago. Please don't. Lemon twats are very poor, says Rock and Red. The third person to ask if I'd ever met Taylor Hawkins, yeah, he was a friend of the band. He's actually our drummer's. He was our drummer's godfather, and dearly missed. Aaron Vale asks again, do you ever miss the absolute stardom you experienced early in your career? I think I might have mentioned that earlier. What's going on with this comment section? Okay. Pear character holding his belly, laughing out loud. What's that? I don't understand that. The Gnostic Church and Academy of Lord Jesus Christ says, highly recommend Richard Thompson Grizzly Man soundtrack. Anything Richard Thompson is great. Andrew Patterson says, recently discovered Open Fire and it's now one of my favourite songs. Why wasn't this song a bigger hit? It's a fantastic rock song. Who knows why some things are hits and other things aren't hits, you know. The only thing that matters is if it connects with you, and if you do a song that you're proud of and people like it. That's all that matters, isn't it? I think sometimes the only time we had hits was when we were well, anything that hit the top 10. I mean, we've had top 10 albums, but top 10 singles, we've had, I think, 6 of those. But that was always when we were signed to a major label. So you have to sort of think maybe it's the clout of the major label, or the. I always think that if you've got like say you have a label and there's The Darkness, James Blunt, and all those other bands that Atlantic signed. And then the radio plug from Atlantic Records goes into the sort of, the influential radio stations that most people listen to, and they say, "Oh, will you play this Darkness record?" They go, "Why should I do that?" And then they say, "Because then we'll let you have an exclusive interview with James Blunt." Or they might say, they use one of the acts on their roster to leverage some exposure for another, which I'm sure that's how it works, There are only a few gatekeepers in radio, and like it or not, it is still quite influential when it comes to charts and hits and things being a hit. But there's no substitute for word of mouth. So I think it's possible to have a hit. But, you've got to be young, exciting, and literally everybody has to be talking about you to achieve something like that without actual sort of mainstream support. And mainstream support comes when you're on a major label, I think, right? Wow, here we go. This is an interesting one. Laura says, I blew out my ears at an Aerosmith concert in '93. Permanent hearing loss and tinnitus. I love your YouTube videos because you dissect music in a way that makes me hear again. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you. Oh, I wondered if you were going to go on to say that you tried to sue them in some way, because there's no need to be that loud. You can achieve power and actually it would be quite interesting to talk to Andy about that, because that's one of the things that we changed when he came on as our front of house person. Rather than just trying to deafen everybody, we wanted to give them an experience that was powerful and immersive, and some people just literally turn everything up until everyone's ears are bleeding, and that's just uncomfortable, isn't it? This is a good question. Can you get the solo from Hazel Eyes out of my head? I don't want you to, just wondering if it's possible. The only way to do that is to replace it with something else that's probably more catchy. I don't know. I'm not sure where you'd go from there, really. You're talking about the bit that goes, it's just so jaunty, isn't it? That's the problem. It's too jaunty. Almost too jaunty. Eddie Van Halen, the best lead player and rhythm player. Discuss. I don't know if it's possible to say who the best is, but he's definitely like just the most one of the most iconic 80s guitarists, and one of those blokes that pioneered and made a certain type of tapping prevalent. Actually, I have listened to Queens of the Stone Age. I never actually listened to one of their albums, but I've seen them live, and I've always admired the singles that I've heard. I went to see them when they played with Rammstein at Interlaken, which is a festival in the mountains of Switzerland, and they were brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Please thank your producer for this idea. Here's to many more Q&As. Also, Heroes by Hot Lake reshaped my atoms, and now I'm a better person overall. Absolute banger. Thank you for being you. Nice one, Albert. Really appreciate it. Sorry again about not listening to the gift that you gave me. Have you seen any of your friends on this tour? Yeah, I bumped into Daniel Del Purgatorio, who's a brilliant director, or an award-winning director of horror movies. Elon Rubin, the drummer from Nine Inch Nails, came to see us in LA, and we hung out a little bit afterwards. That was cool. Yeah, a few of them, but I mean, it's slightly, we're not being as kind of strict with the COVID bubbling, because there aren't any restrictions. There's no need for us to test every day, as long as we're not going mental. I think we'll be all right. Tom says, who was the biggest dickhead celebrity you've met? And they were actually dickheads. See, I don't know. I don't really meet celebrities that often. I mean, I don't really care about that stuff. But it's funny because sometimes I get into situations where it's like, oh, I'm really excited to meet you. Oh, brilliant. And then they turn around and say, but actually, Justin, we've met before. Don't you remember? And then they always talk about a period of time when I was, maybe living in a slightly different, had a slightly different lifestyle. Let's say that. That happened to me a couple of times. It's just so embarrassing. Because then I start thinking, oh, what did I say? What did I do? How do you start recording a track? Do you start with guitar, drums, vocals? And how do you stay focused when you're trying to chase a sound? As I tend to get lost just starting. My problem is that it's such an undertaking. You know what I mean? Like it seems daunting to think about having to begin a recording project, but it always starts with the drums, I think. When I remember Roy Thomas Baker describing a process with Guns N' Roses when, Axl would sing, the band would then have to play around the vocal take because he had this sort of really strong vision in his head, and it was Roy Thomas Baker's role to sort of realise that vision from the vocal backwards. But I reckon that's a long way round. It must be really difficult to try and find accompaniment just from a melody. So I would say it goes the other way around, something percussive, some chords, and then a melody that intertwines with the chords, or vice versa. Louise says, do you think you could lose Rufus to the Foo Fighters? I think it could be that the Darkness becomes like a feeder club for bigger touring entities, and if Rufus gets that call, we'll be 100% supportive. It's the right thing for him. If it's the right thing for him, he'll do whatever he wants, and we'll love him whichever way he decides to jump, because he's great and he's one of us, and basically he's more or less family at this point, so we'll be happy for him whatever he decides. Have you ever listened to either band Dead Poets Society or Nothing But Thieves? I think I might have checked out Nothing But Thieves momentarily with a view to doing some kind of reaction to it, but I might be wrong about that. There's a few bands that there was a whole slew of those kind of bands that I was advised to listen to. I'm not sure which ones I ended up having a look at really, but if I haven't talked about them yet, I'm sure I will eventually. Paul says Open Fire is awesome, so glad you put it back in the set. Yeah, my vocal cords aren't terribly thrilled about it, but I'm glad you're happy, Paul. I haven't heard of The Chat, says Wrong Way Wilson. Great name, by the way. Lucinda says, Justin, can you tell Paul he needs to practice on the bass more? Okay, Paul. Just have the bass in your hand, even if you're not practicing per se. Just have it in your hand. Do a bit of slapping. Use it to express disdain. If if you say to him, Paul, the bins need to go out, and he'll be like, and you'll know from that flurry of, not that he's practicing level 42, but just he's using a bass line from level 42's Lessons in Love, for example, to express frustration at having to take the bins out. As long as he's got the bass in it, I always think it's like, it's like songwriting is like catching butterflies, really. I think practicing is the same sort of thing, really. Just have the instrument in your hands at all times. Vanessa says your hair looks amazing. Yeah, there must be a smudge on the lens. It actually looks like some raw sewage has been poured on an Englishman's head, but thank you, Vanessa, I appreciate that. Barry Shepherd says, "Who did you really wanted to meet but then wished you hadn't?" I don't know. Honestly, I really wanted to meet Steven Tyler, but then when I met him, he was amazing. He was just a brilliant experience, and he was lovely. Beyond that, everybody's just been nice, and then people that you meet who disappoint you, those are always just bellends, the ones that are really, the ones that are worth meeting don't disappoint you. It's that simple. And, you kind of know who that's going to be. James Adcock says, "Hi, buddy." Hello, mate. Ooh, Alice in Chains video, says this guy. That could be good. Joe says, "You guys are still exciting. Maybe not so young though." Okay. Yeah. Well, excitable, hopefully. Deception Star says, "Hi again, Justin. Do you plan to play in France someday?" Yes, actually. We have I've forgotten what it's called, but there's a festival coming up. I think it might be in June. Let me just check it. I've got to check it. Wait. There is one coming up. I've got to look at the right app, though. That would be the calendar. Where is it? Yeah, so on the 18th of June, we're playing at Hellfest Festival in France. I don't know whereabouts in France it is, but it is France. I can confirm that it's France. Have you ever played the Olympia in Dublin, says the Bouncing Hearts? Yes, we have, many years ago. Oh, brilliant. Stu says, what was it like touring with Def Leppard? Saw you in Manchester on that tour, met you in the crowd when you came out to watch them. Excuse me a second, that is my coffee this time. Oh yeah! Nice one. Thank you. Amazing. What's this?
It's just a bit of toasted avocado sandwich.
Lovely. Thank you. Nice one. Cheers. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, so Def Leppard was brilliant actually because all of that association came about through Joe Elliott, who has this sort of encyclopedic knowledge of rock. He should be a YouTuber actually. He'd be brilliant at it because I think he can listen to a riff and he knows exactly where it came from initially. And he liked us because he recognised what our actual influences are. It's not as obvious as people think, really, but he got it, and it was one of the first sort of. It was the Wild Hearts in 2002, and then at the beginning of 2003, we were on the road with Def Leppard, and it was great. Rick Allen was helping Ed to tune his drum set. They just couldn't do enough for us, and we learnt so much by sort of being in the crowd and watching the way Def Leppard used the stage. Like the way they occupy the space. And then if you're at the front of a Def Leppard show, you get plenty of face time with all of them. Like if you go to an AC/DC show and you stand on the left-hand side, you're going to be in front of Malcolm probably, and you're just going to see Malcolm. He'll come forward for his thing, and you'll get Angus running about, and you'll get, you know what I mean? Like, so the choreography of bands differs, but with Def Leppard, everybody occupies all of the stage, and they sort of have this instinctive way when somebody vacates one space, somebody else moves into it, and it's really fun to watch, and you get a bit of eye contact and a bit of vibes off everybody. Really, it's a great show, and we learnt a lot from just watching that. Really, also I think those early sort of formative experiences of supporting bigger bands told us a lot about what the etiquette is of being backstage when you're not the main artist. It can help you out. Favourite Stones songs? I love Can't You Hear Me? Not Can You Hear Me? Can You Hear Me? Not Can't You Hear Me? Is it can't or can? the one about hearing them knocking from Sticky Fingers, because I love it's really long and it has lots of different movements in it. If you get a chance, listen to that one, and obviously anything off Exile. Specific story behind Get Your Hands Off My Woman. It's an exploration of toxic masculinity, way ahead of its time. A satirical look at male attitudes, possessiveness, the duality of love itself. Plus it's just a bit of a screech along, isn't it? Thoughts on Foxy Shazam? I've been a fan of Foxy Shazam for years, and I produced their third record. Have a listen to it one day, it's good. Billy Flynn says, I know you wouldn't agree with me, but I think Led Zeppelin were very overrated. The Who were real proper great rock band, a different class to Zeppelin. I like both. Chris says, I saw a mistake at your gig in Birmingham before Christmas where Dan's guitar cut out for a few seconds. Have you ever made a huge mistake where you have totally lost a song? It doesn't sound like a mistake. That sounds more like a technical error. I mean, mistakes is the reason why you go to see live music, isn't it? I mean, it's like the thrill of it is seeing the imperfections in the performance, and that's what makes a performance unique. You don't want to hear a recital that's exactly like the record, I don't think, anyway. So mistakes is actually what you're going for. But if you lose a song, just go back to the beginning. You start again. There's nothing wrong with starting again. I've seen it. I've seen bands do it many times, and I like doing it myself. It's a good laugh. I like this. Thoughts on the Stone Roses? Experts all round except Ian. Squire is my favourite guitarist. But you look at Ian Brown, he's actually like an icon, isn't he? Think of it, the things that he's actually influenced and inspired. You know, he might not be technically an advanced singer, but he understands melody, he understands how harmonies work, and shine, fucking shine. We wouldn't have Oasis if we hadn't had Ian Brown. That's my belief. Okay, Caleb Bankord says, have you seen that Mark Tremonti is releasing an album of Frank Sinatra covers with members of Sinatra's supporting band? That's a good idea, isn't it? Would you ever cover someone old school like that? If so, who? Well, I'm gearing up to asking the band if they would permit me to sing a Shirley Bassey song. I mean, I love those big voices from the Valleys, Shirley Bassey, Tom Jones, the really great stuff from the 60s. Proper singers really belting it out, you know, over a rock backing, like something like some of the songs that Shirley Bassey did were also sung by Tom Jones. You know, sometimes in the same year, they would release so many records that were all the songs are written by the great writers. And the definitive version would either be Bassey or Jones, and a lot of the time it just comes down to personal taste. The best example of that, I think, is I Who Have Nothing. Dum dum. Wah, 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 wah. I who have nothing. I who have no one, adore you and love you so. I'm just a no one with nothing to give you, but oh, I love you. Dum 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 dum. It's a great song. Mr. A. Magri says, do you have a routine that you stick to in order to keep your voice in check? I certainly do. I do tutorials and actually vocal tuition, weirdly. That's at my Patreon. The link to that is in my description or bio. Or I've forgotten how this works now. Would you open for Metallica? We opened for Metallica in 2003, and we toured with them in 2004. I'm not sure. I think we might have played. Oh, I think we did play with them in Germany somewhere after that, probably about 2005 or something. I'm not sure really, but we've opened for them many times, and really love those guys, and be happy to do it again whenever they want us, whenever they need us. We're here. People don't like Follow in the Darkness, though. Just saying, Metallica don't care about that. They have the courage, the requisite courage, to do that. Heard of the band Avatar from Sweden? It's heavy metal version of The Darkness. I haven't heard of them, actually. Thanks for the tip, though, Dr. Kyle. I'll check them out. Can you play the drums, Justin? I studied drums when I was at college, but I haven't practiced for a long time. I know how to do it, sort of, I think, and I do love doing it. I just haven't got time. So whenever I play drums, it sounds a bit shit now. Andy McKeevia says, what's a thief? Someone who steals things. Yeah, I think I might have missed that bit of school. A lot of people from the UK can't get the difference between an F and a TH in the terms of the way it sounds, and I'm no exception to that. I say things, and sometimes I say finks, because I changed the G to a K. I don't know why I do it. My dad does it, that's why. Brilliant question from Hoysin. It's dawned on me, I've seen you at a festival, Reading, an arena, Wembley, a small venue, Shepherd's Bush Empire, and a stadium with Lady Gaga. What's your ideal size and type of gig? Well, I like festivals because you get a bit of passing trade, and often if you can play at a festival like in an early slot, you get to play in the sunshine, and that's always, I really enjoy that. I know it's not, those aren't the big money slots, but with the sun on your face, an excited field full of people, it's actually a really great feeling. And then afterwards you can chill and hang or get off site and go to the pub, whatever you need to do, you know. Arenas can be a little bit soulless, but I think they're really good. My accountant would probably say arena's the best. If you can do an arena tour, that's a really good way to cash in. But I think that an arena, by its definition, is kind of like a multi-purpose space. One day it might be for a basketball match or a hockey game or something, and then it's a show, and all of the sort of production and the staging and stuff is stuff that you have to bring yourself. So I don't think it's very good for the environment, because you've got trucks and trucks full of stuff that you need to assemble to be able to put the show on in the first place. Otherwise it's just a rectangular space. So when you tread those boards that you're bringing with you, you don't get that sense of history that you get in a small venue like Shepherd's Bush Empire. I really think that from the point of view of a performer, the way to achieve magic and create brilliant memories for yourself and for your audience is to be able to sort of see everybody's eyes, you know. So places like Brixton Academy, where it has that sloping floor, that's the place where they recorded the video for Thunderstruck by AC/DC. You can see everybody in there. You get brilliant sound, and it's sort of ornate, and you can tell it's an old sort of theatre, and it's just like you can feel the history in the room, and it's an amazing place to play. It really is. So I think there's things like that is just awesome. Arenas, a bit soulless, but loads of money. Stadiums, we've done a few stadiums. There's something about saying that you're doing a stadium that feels so good that it's almost worthwhile. We did some South American stadiums, and that was just we felt like Queen in 1986 when we were doing that. So that's a good feeling. But my favourite has got to be the sort of theatre. I would say a little bit bigger than Shepherd's Bush. I would say theatres that are, a 4,000 to 5,000 capacity theatre. The one just before you get to arenas. That's the optimal, most fun you can have as a musician, I think. What? Paul says that the 18th of June means I can't come to the wedding. What's the meaning of this outrage? I'll look into that, Paul. Paul Kelcher says, Cliff Richard offers to do a Christmas record with the band. Yes or no? I think it would be career suicide for Cliff. Come to Blackpool, please, please, please. Absolutely. Saw Hot Leg play Southampton opening for Extreme. You were very nice to me when I saw you watching Nuno play from the crowd. I'm nice to everybody. Unless they're not nice to me. Then I can be pretty mean. But you must have been nice to me, so that's good. Sorry, just looking for the next one. Pat Fode says, so glad you like King Gizzard. Thank you, yeah. It was a real eye-opener seeing that. How about a duet, says Sonia. Yeah, why not? Live a little. Always up for a duet. Can't you hear me knocking? Thank you, Gmail. Appreciate that. I've learned something today. Found you guys because of this channel, and now I'm seeing the band for the first time in Toronto. Yes, the Phoenix Theatre. Oh, God, that's going to be a great show because it's towards the end of our run. That's when I'll start getting a little bit crazier, I think. There's 2 brilliant balconies that can be jumped from. There's a balcony at the back, and there's also this weird sort of platform bit that's next to the stage. I usually find myself launching myself off both of those, and I'm excited to play for that crowd again. Toronto is always brilliant, and the Phoenix is a great place. One of those festivals, one of those theatres that I really like. Is rock music too inbred now to thrive? Difficult question to answer, Peter. I think the key to it is the songs, really. Love is the gift that keeps on taking. Quite right. That is a reference to a lyric from The Power and the Glory of Love on the most recent The Darkness album, Motorheart. Link in the description. Producer, says Rick Barron. Quite right. Who most famous person, most intimidating person you met? Well, I was intimidated by Bono's presence. I thought he was probably the most famous person I've ever met. Although I did meet Prince William and Harry once at a polo match. You know. But somehow, I know why. I wasn't intimidated then. Albert says, Raw Sewage on an Englishman's Head, definitely your prog album title. Goes without saying, you've been going from strength to strength for decades, man. Motorheart is pure slay. I appreciate that. Thanks, Albert. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Smiths and Cure, actually. I really like Robert Smith's voice, and the songs are brilliant too. How has the weather been on the runs? At the beginning of this tour, though, it was too hot. I think I got some sort of sunstroke, and then it was freezing cold. A really, really wet one in Chicago, I think. But today in Kansas, it was actually quite sunny and nice. But it was just a little recovery run today, just a little 5K relaxation run. Did you actually play darts with Phil Taylor during the shooting of This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us? Yes, I did. I've played darts with Phil Taylor a few times. He was a good friend of mine for a while there. And we lost touch more recently, but we used to hang out all the time. And he taught me to play darts, so watch out, darts enthusiasts. Brilliant, Marcus. Do you have a trick to keep that annoying G string in tune? I think the best thing is to lean into it being out of tune. You can make adjustments finger-wise to sort of pull the adjacent strings into line. If you approach the chords where that's really affecting you tenderly, you can usually get a good result. It's all about how much you grip on this hand, really. There's one thing I would say is like if you're playing like a traditional bar chord where the root's on the low E, then it's probably going to determine whether that's minor, major, or a sus, or a augmented, or whatever. And so the stuff that's happening on that string is the stuff that gives you the most harmonic information. And in a way, if it's dissonant and kind of not quite in tune, if you listen to just the guitar on its own, it's going to be slightly jarring. And there are techniques you can use to tune a Les Paul to counteract the effects of that thing never being in tune. But I actually embrace it because I think that's the harmonic information that you need to hear, and the dissonance makes it pops out a little bit more. Plus, it's just a fact of life, and it's actually part of being a Les Paul player. You've got to live with that. It's one of the things that you do battle with in every moment that you have the guitar on, and for me, that's like it's exciting to hear, and it's fun to do battle with. Fern Dog says, hello Justin, thanks for doing this and just sending good vibes. Appreciate it, Fern Dog, thank you. How many guitars do you have, and are they mostly Les Pauls? 3 Les Pauls on the road. I think there's a couple. Oh wait, there's 3 more in storage. 2 in the studio. 2 Strats. A Charvel. I don't know how many I've got, honestly. Just too many. The maddest thing a fan has ever sent you? Well, I had 3 really big bottles of maple syrup arrived at the PO box once. One of them was for me, one for my brother, and the other one I was supposed to give to Ginger from the Wild Hearts. Justin, if you could form a supergroup with you as lead vox, 1 rhythm, 1 lead, 1 bass, 1 drummer from history, who would it be? Right, the drummer's John Bonham, bass Mark King, lead guitar, that's difficult. Hendrix, 1 rhythm guitarist, Malcolm. There you go, what a band that is. The weakest link is me. Would you open for Metallica if they asked? Yeah, certainly would, Adam. We have opened for Metallica many times. Whenever they've asked, we've always said, yes, please, and it's been a brilliant time. The first time we did it, people were cheering our guitar tech as he was sort of preparing the amps and going, oh, over the microphone. He was getting applause. So I think even if we just do our thing, the Metallica fans enjoy it because it's, it's entertaining, and it's got guitars in it, so they like it. Do you write lyrics before or after the music? Sometimes before and sometimes after. Sometimes I have poems, and sometimes I write stuff especially for it. There are no rules. I wish there were rules. It'd make life a lot easier, probably. All right. I can hear the band playing. Can you hear that? It's time for me to go to sound check here in Kansas City. Don't forget the links in the description. You can find tickets for the Motorheart touring that's happening here in North America. Come and see us at a festival in the summertime. I'll do this again next week, I think. But nonetheless, thanks for everything, and thanks for tuning in. Adieu, and I wish you... No, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you on the ice. That's it. Lots of love, and cheers.